Hey, what's up, Business and Boardshorts listeners? I am in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the MJS Studios, first traveling episode of BIB. I'm here with Mark. Mark, how's it going?
What's up, CT? Thank you for coming by. Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for being my tour guide.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.
So let's dive in to tell listeners what's the vibe like in Pittsburgh.
It's pretty chill. It's relatively... We've been talking about it actually a little bit, these past couple of days. I like to kind of categorize it as like a big little city. There's a lot of things going on here, sports, all that sort of stuff, great food. But the city itself is not very big like some of these other ones around here. So it kind of lends itself to more of a suburban feel in a lot of places. There's a lot of great areas that surround the city. And I just like it overall. I've lived here, my whole life, so it's fun. Yeah.
I know you have a lot of stuff going on, so tell listeners what you're all doing right now.
So yeah, it's tough thing to be concise on, but I'm 25 and I've been through the ringer of college and everything like that, and I had my first job. Moved away from that just because I wasn't feeling it anymore. It wasn't doing it for me. It kind of drained me, and I have been an entrepreneur for 2-ish years now throughout COVID and all that sort of stuff, and it's been great. The things that I have a lot of different ideas and a lot of different brands. That's kind of the big thing that I like to do. Just kind of building different things up and helping other people along the way with that. The main things that I kind of do to try to boil it down is I have one big parent company that I formed called MJS Industries, and then that owns other little brands that are currently all just me, but different industries and stuff like that. So to go through them, we got Szymanski Media, which is just my personal brand and everything that I like to do. So entrepreneurship, finance, mainly content creation, anything through social media or any sort of consulting work that I do. I kind of ran that through that channel. Fueled by Progress is another huge passion project for me because that's, like UCT, it's growth mindset, just trying to get better every single day. That is 3 prongs to that. There is apparel, the podcast, and community. So a lot of stuff going on there, different industries even within that. But again, just driving home that message of always getting better. And we can do that in several different material ways and just content ways. So I'm extremely, that's like I just said, that's a huge passion of mine. Find It Tech, which is something that you and I are very familiar in the same wavelength with. That is one of the first things that I started just because I needed a tangible skill, and building WordPress websites was one of the first things that came to me. And I really love that because everything kind of blends together in some sort of way, one way or another. And building a website is like building an ecosystem for me. I don't like the idea of just having a couple pieces of information on a page. If you go to markjoeszymanski.com or fueledbyprogress.com, I want you to have an experience there that is all tied together, very cohesive. There's a lot of great companies out there that do that, and I try to emulate those when I build. So, I'm sure we could talk for days about that, but that's one thing that I'm doing. The main other thing right now is AM and the PM, and that is a podcast and more content and things like that, mainly based around relationships because I do that with my girlfriend Amanda. So we just love to talk. That's one of the big things. We love to share our experiences and just give people different perspectives, hear different perspectives, and we love to do that on that show and pretty much throughout everything else that we do. So that's kind of the best way to put it.
What was your aha moment then to go out on your own?
So I've always had a little bit of entrepreneurship in my blood, I believe. My grandmother's had a restaurant here locally in Pittsburgh. She's owned it for over 30 years. My mom's worked there that entire time. Just hard work, work ethic to the core. I've worked there since I was probably, I think I was born, and 2 weeks later I was in the back, So it's I've definitely been around it for a long time. Teaches a lot of good things. There's a lot of other things that come from that, goods, bads, just different things that just gives you an incredible experience, and it's immeasurable. I don't think it's something that can really be taught. You have to really just experience that. And so through that, and then going through high school, college, and having my first job, still being around all that, and realizing that entrepreneurship is something that gives you the ability to design your own lifestyle and the things that you want to do and really capture what it is that you want. Once you start to become a little more self-aware, like I was during my 2.5 years at my corporate job, I was like, this is great. I'm very thankful for it as well. It's taught me a lot of things. but there's so much more that I want to experience that I can't really do because I have a 9 to 5. So I made the decision to just kind of, cut that off. And I was actually right before COVID and everything in 2020. And since then, I've just been building all those things that I just listed in the little empire that we're building. So that was kind of the aha moment, I would say, is like right there where I was like, I can design a life if I just take a little bit of a risk when I'm young and really, put the time in. So I figured there was no better time than now. So that was the moment.
Yeah, to me, it's designing that life around work versus the opposite.
Exactly. Yeah.
So go back to the WordPress website building business that we both do similar things. So it sounds like that was like the first thing that you did.
Mm-hmm. That was definitely the first one. Yeah.
So how did you get? How did that come about? What made you go down that path?
So it was actually kind of out of need, and that's another thing. Like there's so many other things that I could mention about my corporate job that I had. It was kind of out of need for the company in a sense that got me initially drawn to it, because we had that need from the marketing perspective there to kind of dive into that. And then it really blossomed from there. And I would have to, if I could, I could even go back further into college. I went for information science and computer science and all that. So I was always like into technology and building. And some of the classes that we had were specifically web design. So in high school, or actually not even in high school, I wish they would have had in high school. In college, I learned about HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript. That was the base level. I don't know if I'd recommend, kind of like building in that. As we know, there's definitely more versatile tools nowadays. But when I really learned about that was while I was at my job, and I really dove into that, and I did it kind of in a two-pronged fashion. I was like, okay, here's all my personal stuff. That's when I really started to build out my website, my personal website, and then the brands obviously thereafter. But garnishing those skills from personal projects, as well as a little bit here and there with work things that we were doing, and different sites that we wanted to create for different purposes. That is when I realized, you know what, if I ever need a plan, like a backup plan or something like that, I know that there's a huge need for this, because there's a lot of websites out there that could definitely use updates. And that's when I really started to kind of create that business. It didn't really get off the ground too much until like later down the line as I was moving away from that job. But that is probably where it started, actually, out of a need for it, and just like an interest really in the web and cool websites and that whole branding experience, ecosystem, entrepreneurship.
And then to transition to the podcast side of it, then how did those, because you have a couple different podcasts, like how did that come about? What made you want to, I mean, I only have one, so I can't imagine doing multiple.
Yeah, no, it's I think the idea that when you go through a phase that I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs go through a phase similar to this. Maybe it differs from person to person. My phase specifically was I was watching a ton of content, consuming an enormous amount of financial, entrepreneurship, marketing content. Gary Vee, Dave Ramsey, Graham Stephan. That's just a couple of subscriptions that I had on YouTube. Just a ton of YouTube content over the course of, it's tough to say, like it was even a little bit in high school, ramped up in college, and then definitely while I was later in college and into the out in the workforce, just consuming a ton of that. And what I think happens to at least some people is you listen to so much stuff that you almost get tired of not talking, in a sense. And I think that's really what happened, is as you listen to things and you learn them and then you implement them in your life, I feel like naturally we just kind of, most people want to share our experiences and share our knowledge with others. I think generally people are pretty helpful. And also if you can provide value and get money from it, like in a business, perspective, obviously that's huge as well. But that is really what happened to me. Was I was at that point and I was thinking about all the things that I had gone through from all those different periods of my life and deciding to move away from something that wasn't really fulfilling me. And that was the big thing, is I wanted to make sure that the rest of my life was happy, fulfilled, and just like completely full of meaning and purpose. And then I had this idea for Fueled by Progress. And I just thought it was a tremendous name and a tremendous mission. And that was, that's why it's the Passion Project. And then that was the first podcast I decided to do after listening to people like, Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan, like those types of thinkers and speakers. And I was like, I just want to have people on and I want to discuss about, life, the things that they do, the things that they're passionate about, the reasons that they get up in the morning, and all sorts of things in between. And that's what Fueled by Progress is. It's a guest podcast. And then AM and the PM was born similarly. It was me and Amanda, and we wanted to share what we were doing as a couple more so, and like the issues that you face as a couple, because we've been together for 5 years almost now. And there's a ton of things. Like, I mean, it's you think about all the things you can do individually, like there's that much, and more as a couple that you can go through. So that, and documenting kind of like our life together, we've had a lot of milestones on there. And that's really the big thing, is we just wanted to share all that with people and get other people's perspectives too. We have guests on there as well. So it's a whole community aspect to it as well. Yeah.
Where do you want to see all these different things you have going on? Where do you want to see this 2-3 years stuff from the 2-3 years down the road?
Yeah. So just continue to build. I mean, I haven't given like a severe, I would say that personally, I've thought of my life in terms of that more so than business. Personally, we're going to be buying a house soon and things like that, and all that, and all this other stuff, and
putting on the big boy pants.
Yeah, putting on the big boy pants, becoming an adult, and getting married, having children. Like, those are actually things that I've listed like in almost like year blocks, just as something to kind of plan for and strive for. Maybe it happens that way, maybe it doesn't. But from a business perspective, I guess you could say that like business planning in the short term is this huge strong suit of mine. In the long term, I just feel like I just want to keep going. I don't have like numbers to hit. I don't have specific things to hit. There are like maybe like bigger items that I would love to do. I'd love to move more away from the businesses in a sense. But to do that, obviously, you need to continue to generate revenue. You need to delegate. You need to build that team. That is probably the number one goal. Like, without giving like specific concrete dates or anything, in the next 2 or 3 years, I want to have more people involved, because I know that the projects and the things that I'm working on bring value to people, and I know they're meaningful, and I know other people can come into that and have a huge impact, and we can impact others. So that's definitely the biggest thing, is building a team and just continue to grow steadily. I'm not trying to take it a different route. I'm not really trying to get rid of any of these things. I'm not thinking of, in 2 or 5 years or 2 years or whatever, we're going to be at this number and we're going to sell. That's not really something that I've thought of, because all of these things have a piece of me in them. And while I want to keep it that way, I do realize that I am not going to be able to sustain this, especially as my personal responsibilities grow. For instance, having a family and stuff like that's going to take time away. I'm very, cognizant of that. So that is probably the biggest thing, is just get more people involved and just continue to grow and see where it goes from there.
3 questions, close at the show.
Yeah.
If you had a boat, what would you name it?
I've been thinking about this question for a while. I haven't thought about really owning a boat per se. But if I did, the closest thing that I could think of would be like I think most boats normally have like SS in front of them or something. I'm not exactly sure what that stands for, but I've heard like SS something. Maybe like SS Progress. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know. It just kind of goes with the theme. But yeah, I hope it'd be a big boat, because I'm more of a cruise guy. So I don't know, but that's the best name I got.
I'm with you on that. Yeah. Best business advice you ever received?
So I would say it's tough, like business and life. But I would say the best business advice is really just do something that fulfills you. Business and life kind of are together in a sense, but do something that really fulfills you, because you're going to have to wake up every day and want to do that. And if you're doing something that you don't enjoy for the money, I just don't think it's going to work. I really think that making sure, and you can change, like, that might change over time, but I would say really business advice, if you want to start a business, don't do it for the money, unless I guess you're that type of person and you have like a goal where it's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do whatever it takes, even if I hate my life for 5 years and then sell. If that's your goal, that's kind of a different thing. But if you're looking for longevity, like you, retirement is not in my vocabulary. So I'm not going to do something I hate for the rest of my life. So I want to make sure that it's something that I enjoy.
Best life advice?
My best life advice is, with every single thing, is do your absolute best to not give any sort of energy, not devote any energy or time to things that you cannot control, because there are so many things that you can control that you're honestly wasting your time if you're messing with the stuff that's out of your reach or out of your grasp there. Because I really believe that in most cases it actually works in a different way, where if you focus on those things that you have the ability to control, like your personal situation or your job or your family or this, that, or the other thing, it is going to somehow ripple effect and make those other things that you thought, oh, this is never going to change. I think it's going to positively affect those. So yeah, just don't worry about the things that you can't control, and do everything you can to better your situation, the people around you, and just focus on that.
Well, I appreciate you coming on / the hospitality the past 24 hours.
Yeah.
Where can my listeners check you out online?
So I would say there's a bunch of different places. I mean, really just me personally, Mark J. Szymanski on all social media. I got that handle. That's awesome. For everything. MarkJosephSzymanski.com is kind of where I dump everything about me. Like that's the main place. And yeah, just all the different brands and everything like that are linked on there. So I would just say my personal page. Feel free to connect too on Instagram, LinkedIn, like CT. I'm always happy, always open to chat with new people, meet new people with this growth mindset. So yeah, that's it, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.